I'm sitting in the living room. The hum of the air conditioner, the only sound breaking the stillness. The soft glow of the lamp beside me casts a warm light over the room. And everything feels just as it should, peaceful, calm. I look at the couch where Jake and I used to spend hours together, watching movies, laughing at bad jokes, holding hands like we were the only two people in the world. It's funny how everything can feel perfect when you're in the moment, and how quickly it can all fall apart when you least expect it. I never thought much about it, the way we lived, the way things were between us, the perfect marriage, the perfect life, the perfect house. I never doubted Jake. He was always there, always so kind, always so devoted. We had our routines, our rituals, and I believed, no, I knew that this was it. The love we shared wasn't just a story people told themselves. It was real, at least it was for me. But now, as I sit here alone, I wonder if it was all just a lie. I glance at the coffee table, my fingers lightly tapping the edge. The magazine I left there earlier is still open to the article about how couples stay happy. It used to be a reminder of the life I thought we were living, how perfect everything was. But tonight, the words seem like some cruel joke, like a far-off dream I'm struggling to reach. I sigh, shifting on the couch and pulling my legs up to my chest. Jake had left for work earlier this morning, just like any other day. He kissed me goodbye, told me he loved me, and I responded with my usual smile. Watching him go, everything was fine. Nothing seemed off. But now, looking at the space beside me, it feels empty. I know it shouldn't, but it does. I run my hand through my hair and close my eyes for a moment, trying to shake the feeling that's been gnawing at me for the past few weeks. It's subtle, like a shadow creeping into my thoughts, a small, almost a noticeable shift in Jake's behavior. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe I'm just imagining things. But what if I'm not? It started with little things I brushed off because I didn't want to think there could be something wrong. The way Jake would glance at his phone, quickly turning it over when I came into the room, the longer hours at the office, the distracted conversations, the way he paused when I asked him about his day, as if deciding how much to share. He wasn't cheating. I didn't believe that. Not Jake. Not the man who promised to always put us first. But I felt it, deep inside, that nagging doubt. I pushed it aside, telling myself I was being paranoid. After all, we had a solid foundation, right? I glance over at Jake's phone, sitting face up on the kitchen counter, and the doubt in me grows heavier. It's silly, I know, but I can't help it. Why is it always on the counter now? Why doesn't he take it with him when he leaves the house? I don't want to look. I don't. But my curiosity gets the better of me, and my hand moves toward it, almost of its own accord. The screen lights up as I tap it. No, I shouldn't invade his privacy like this. But I can't help it. My heart races, and I feel a sick knot forming in my stomach as I stare at the lock screen. For a moment, I wonder if I should stop, but the temptation is too strong. I slide my finger across the screen. Unlocking it, there's nothing alarming, nothing overtly obvious at first glance. Text messages, a few calls, a couple of emails. I flick through them quickly, hoping to find nothing, praying that this will all be some mistake. But then my eyes freeze on one text. Hey babe, can't wait to see you tonight. Miss you. My breath catches in my throat. I feel dizzy, my hands trembling. It's not from fear. It's from the sharp pain that claws its way through my chest. There is nothing that prepares you for this. Nothing that can make the world stop spinning when you realize the person you trusted the most has been hiding something from you. I glance at the name attached to the message order. I don't know how long I sit there, staring at the screen, feeling my mind go blank. I should be angry. I should confront him. But all I feel is this overwhelming, suffocating sadness. I drop the phone back onto the counter, but the damage is done. I can't unsee it. The betrayal, the quiet lies, everything we've built seems so fragile now, like a house of cards ready to collapse. I wanted to believe we were perfect. But now I don't know what's real anymore. The door creaks open, and I jump, heart slamming against my ribs. It's Jake. He's home early. I swallow hard, my throat dry. I don't know what to say. I want to scream, to demand answers. But my voice catches in my chest. Hey, baby, what's wrong? Jake's voice is soft, his brow furrowed in concern. I turn toward him, forcing a smile. But inside, everything is crumbling. Nothing, I say, my voice shaking slightly. Just thinking. He smiles, oblivious, and walks over to me. Sitting beside me on the couch, I can smell his cologne, feel his warmth, but it doesn't feel the same, not anymore. Come on, talk to me. I can tell something's off. His hand brushes mine, and I flinch. But he doesn't notice. I want to tell him. I want to scream the truth, let it all spill out. But instead, I just sit there, trapped in my own silence. The trust I thought we had is shattered beyond repair, and yet, I don't know how to let go. I'm just tired, I whisper, my voice barely audible. Okay, well, let's take it easy tonight. Dinner's on me, I nod. But all I can think about is that text, about Laura, about the life I thought I had with Jake. I don't know what's worse, the betrayal itself or the fact that I've been living a lie for so long. I couldn't shake the feeling. It was like a low hum, a constant noise at the back of my mind. Something wasn't right, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I tried to ignore it at first, tried to believe I was just being paranoid. But as the days passed, the doubt gnawed at me, whispering at every turn. I'd never snooped on Jake before. It felt wrong, invasive even. But that feeling, that damn feeling was consuming me. So, when he left his phone on the kitchen counter this morning unlocked, I couldn't stop myself. I told myself I was just being cautious, that maybe I was imagining things. But even as I grabbed the phone, my heart was already pounding in my chest. I opened the Messages app. My eyes immediately fell on the thread at the top. It was between Jake and a woman named Laura. Babe, I can't stop thinking about you. Last night was perfect. The words punched me in the stomach. I felt my breath catch, but I couldn't stop reading. Same here. I miss you. Can't wait to feel your hands on me again. I didn't want to read more, but I did. Every message was the same, full of passion, full of longing. I couldn't process it. I couldn't breathe. The ground beneath me felt like it was slipping away. And for a moment, I thought I might fall right through the floor. How could this happen? How could I not have seen it coming? How could he do this to me? I dropped the phone, my hands shaking uncontrollably. I felt sick, nauseous. I sat down hard on the kitchen chair, pressing my palms against my eyes. I wanted to scream, to cry. But instead, I felt paralyzed, like time had stopped and I was trapped in this one moment where everything I thought I knew about my marriage was suddenly a lie. I kept asking myself over and over, how could he? But the answer was clear now. The messages, the way they spoke to each other, it was also real. He wasn't just talking to someone. He was feeling something for her, something he never felt for me. I was supposed to be enough. I always thought I was enough. But now, here I was, staring at this screen, realizing I wasn't. It felt like a slap in the face. I had been the perfect wife, loving, supportive, always there for him. What did I do wrong? Was I not enough? Was I not good enough? I could feel the tears threatening to spill over, but I held them back. I refused to let myself cry. I didn't deserve to cry. I didn't deserve to feel weak. How long had this been going on? Was it just recently? Was it more than one woman? Was there more than just these messages? The questions spun around in my head faster than I could keep up with, each one more painful than the last. And then, like a wave crushing over me, the realization hit. He had been lying. For how long? How many times had I smiled, thinking everything was perfect, while he was hiding this from me? How many nights had he come home, looking at me with those same eyes? And I never saw the truth. damn it, I whispered under my breath. I wanted to lash out, to throw his phone across the room, to yell. But I didn't. I couldn't. Instead, I sat there, feeling numb, consumed by this snoring emptiness. I couldn't stop shaking. I wanted to confront him right then and there, but I didn't know what to say. How could I even begin to ask him about this? How could I look at him and not just see the liar he had become? I heard the front door creak open and my heart skipped a beat. I snapped my head toward the sound, panic flooding my chest. I didn't know if I was ready to face him yet. I wasn't sure if I could, but I couldn't avoid it forever. Jake stepped into the living room, tossing his keys onto the table as he looked up at me. His expression was a little too calm, a little too off. He smiled at me like he always did. It didn't reach his eyes. Hey, babe, how was your day? I opened my mouth, but no words came out at first. What could I say? What should I say? Should I call him out right now? Should I demand the truth? Or should I wait until I could collect myself, until I could figure out how to process everything that was happening? I didn't know. All I knew was that my heart was breaking, and I was scared to confront him. I was scared of what I might hear, what the reality would be. What if he lied to me again? What if he denied it, made me feel like I was crazy for even thinking he could cheat? I stood up slowly, my legs unsteady beneath me, and I crossed the room, feeling like I was walking toward my doom. I need to talk to you, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Jake's eyes shifted slightly. He sensed the change in me, the tension in my voice. He smiled again, but it was more forced this time. Sure, babe. What's going on? I clenched my fists at my sides, trying to steady myself. I couldn't let this break me. I couldn't let him see how much this hurt me, how much I knew it hurt me. You tell me, Jake. What's going on? His smile faltered, and his eyes darted toward the kitchen. I saw it, the slight shift in his expression, the brief flicker of guilt before he masked it again. Is something wrong? He asked, his voice too casual, too rehearsed. I shook my head, fighting the rush of tears that threatened to spill. No, nothing's wrong. I need you to be honest with me. Jake stepped toward me, his hand outstretched, but I stepped back. I couldn't touch him. Not now, Sarah. You're acting weird. What's this about? He asked, his voice sharp now, though his attempt to sound unaffected was painfully obvious. Who's Laura? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. He froze, a moment of silence. Then, he laughed a hollow, nervous laugh. What are you talking about? I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. Don't lie to me. Jake, I saw the messages. I saw everything. He blinked, his face paling slightly. But he recovered quickly. I said, listen, it's not what you think. I didn't mean for it to. Then what was it? Jake, I interrupted, my voice shaking with anger. What was it? If it wasn't what I think? His eyes flicked to the door, and for a moment, I thought he might walk out. But he didn't. He just stood there, guilt hanging in the air between us. I don't know what to say. Then don't say anything at all, I replied. I turned away from him, my heart pounding, my chest tight. I couldn't do this. Not yet. I needed to think. I needed to decide what to do next. I couldn't face him right now. Not like this. I couldn't hold it in anymore. The anger, the hurt, the disgust, it all built up inside me until it was unbearable. I was done pretending, done holding back. I had to know. I had to face Jake. The truth was out there. And I couldn't keep living like this, in the dark, pretending everything was fine. When he came home, I didn't let him speak. I didn't wait for the casual greeting or the awkward small talk. I turned to him the moment he walked through the door, the words already heavy on my tongue. Jake, we need to talk, I said, my voice coming out sharper than I expected. He stopped in his tracks, his eyes scanning my face. I could see the hesitation in his movements, the way his shoulders tensed. He knew he had to know what was coming. What's going on? He asked, his voice calm, to comfort what I was feeling. Don't lie to me, Jake. I know about lore, I said, the words coming out with an almost savage force. His face drained of color. For a second, he looked like he'd been punched. In the gut, the mask cracked, and I saw fear, guilt, and something else. Maybe shame, maybe regret. But whatever it wasn't enough to stop him from looking away, from shying from my gaze. I stepped closer, the space between us suddenly too small. Sarah. Listen, he started, but I cut him off. No, I've seen it, Jake. The messages, the pictures, the lies, my breath caught in my throat. But I wasn't going to let him off that easy. You've been with her for months, haven't you? How long? How long have you been lying to me? His eyes darted to the floor, and for a moment, I thought he might break down. But he didn't. He never did. Instead, he looked back up at me, a mixture of fear and something darker in his eyes. Sarah, I didn't mean for this to happen, he said, his voice strained. Didn't mean for this to happen. I laughed bitterly, the sound coming out almost manic. You didn't mean for it to happen. You didn't mean to betray me, to destroy everything we've built. Is that it? He winced, like my words physically hit him, and I could see the guilt flooding back into his face. He wanted to explain himself. I could see it, the words building behind his eyes. But none of that mattered now, none of it. I couldn't take it anymore. Tell me the truth, Jake. I deserve that, at least, I spat out, the anger rising in me again. He took a step forward, his hand reaching out toward me, but I pulled back, not ready to feel his touch. Not after this. I'm sorry, he whispered. I never wanted to hurt you. You have to believe me. It just happened. It wasn't supposed to go this far. How far, Jake? I shouted, finally letting the tears fall. I wasn't going to hide them anymore. How far did it go? Were you just fooling around? Or did you actually love her? He froze. I saw the hesitation in his eyes, the guilt eating away at him. I don't know, Sarah, he said finally, his voice so quiet I almost couldn't hear it. I didn't know what I was doing. It's not like that. I love you. I always loved you. But he stopped, as though he couldn't finish the sentence, like the words couldn't make it past his throat. But what, Jake? I was shaking now, barely able to stand still. My heart was pounding so loudly in my ears, I could hardly think. But what? You've been lying to me for months, sneaking around behind my back, and you want me to believe that you love me. I do, he insisted. But it's just, I was confused. Things weren't. They weren't great between us, and I felt like I'd been slapped. What? The word felt foreign on my tongue. What do you mean? Things weren't great. We were fine. We had everything. He swallowed hard, looking away from me, and I knew that everything he'd said to me was just another excuse, another lie. It's not that simple, he murmured, but I didn't care anymore. It was too late for apologies, too late for excuses. No, Jake, it's not that simple. You didn't just slip up. You didn't just accidentally fall in love with someone else. You chose to do this. Every single time you snuck behind my back, you chose it. My voice cracked with the weight of those words, but I didn't care. He needed to hear it. He looked up at me then, his face full of regret, his lips parted, like he was going to say something, but no sound came out. I don't even know who you are anymore, I whispered, the hurt sinking deeper than I could have ever imagined. I don't know who I am anymore. You've destroyed everything. He took another step toward me, but I didn't move. I couldn't move. Sarah, please, let me explain. We can work through this. I know. I shook my head, stepping back. No more explaining. No more lies. I don't need you to explain anything. You had your chance. The silence between us felt suffocating, and the longer we stood there, the more it hurt. I had so many things I wanted to say, so many words that were dying to escape me, but I couldn't find them. All that was left was this awful, aching truth that I wasn't sure I could live with. I want you to leave, I said, my voice shaking but firm. The words felt like a weight I had to push out. But as soon as they left my lips, I realized something. I meant them. What? Jake's face crumbled. He couldn't believe it. But I didn't care. I couldn't stay here. Not with him. Not anymore. I want you to leave, Jake. I need you to leave. Now. There was a long pause. A part of me wanted him to fight for me, to beg me to forgive him. But that part was fading. The only thing I needed now was for him to go, for him to leave me with this broken heart, this shattered illusion of our perfect life. He nodded slowly, his face unreadable, and turned to grab his things. Every step he took away from me felt like a dagger in my chest. But I didn't move. I didn't beg him to stay. I couldn't. The door closed behind him, and I stood there motionless, my heart in pieces. The worst part, I wasn't sure if I was more angry at him or at myself for trusting him, for believing he would never hurt me. I collapsed onto the couch, my body shaking, my chest tight with the weight of everything that had just shattered. I wasn't ready for this. I wasn't ready to be alone. But I had to be. I had no choice anymore. The days after Jake left were a blur. I couldn't focus. I couldn't think straight. Every waking moment was a haze of anger, betrayal, and emptiness. The weight of it all sat on my chest like a boulder. I barely slept, barely ate. Every time I closed my eyes, all I could see was Jake and her lure. Her name echoed in my mind, louder than my own thoughts. I could hear their laughter, feel the connection between them. It made me sick. I should have been angry. I should have been furious. But instead, I was consumed by this hollow, painful feeling that made my stomach churn. There were moments when I just wanted to scream at the top of my lungs. The rage built up inside of me until it felt like it might tear me apart. But then there were other times when I just wanted to crawl into bed and disappear. I wanted to confront her. God, I wanted to. I wanted to storm over to her house, throw open her door, and make her look me in the eye, tell her everything she had done to me, to my life, to my family. But every time I even thought about it, my stomach flipped. The idea of seeing her, of putting myself in that situation, made me sick. But the need for justice, the need to make her feel what I was feeling, it consumed me. I kept thinking back to the messages. I can't wait to feel your hands on me again. Miss you. How many times had he said that to her? Had I ever heard him say something like that to me? I couldn't remember. And that hurt more than anything. I was falling apart, piece by piece, and I couldn't stop it. I couldn't pull myself together. Every day felt like I was walking through a fog. The world around me unfamiliar, alien. I'd go to work and smile through the motions. But it wasn't real. None of it was real. I wasn't real. I couldn't even look at the damn phone without my heart racing. Every time I picked it up, I found myself staring at those messages, replaying the words over and over in my head. But nothing helped. Nothing made me feel better. Instead, it was like I was slowly sinking deeper into some dark abyss I couldn't escape from. The rage was there, bubbling just beneath the surface. Sometimes it would flare up, and I'd find myself snapping at people for no reason. Like when I had yelled at the cashier for taking too long to ring up my groceries. Or when I slammed the door shut so hard it rattled the whole house. I hated this version of myself, the angry, bitter person I was becoming. I hated how easily the rage took over. But I couldn't control it. I couldn't stop it. I spent hours lying in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, replaying the confrontation over and over. The way Jake had looked at me, the way he tried to explain himself, the way he apologized. But his words didn't matter anymore. They were empty. I wasn't listening to him. I was listening to the pain, to the hollow feeling in my chest that wouldn't go away. And every time I thought about it, I felt more alone than I ever had before. Then there were the nights when I just couldn't take it, when the anger and hurt mixed together and I could feel it twisting inside me like a vice. I would close my eyes and see Jake with her, in my place. I hated myself for feeling that way. It was pathetic, but I couldn't help it. I wanted revenge. I wanted to make him feel everything I felt. I wanted him to suffer, just like I was suffering. But then, the reality of it hit me. What would I even do? What good would it do to confront her? What would I accomplish by causing more pain? I wasn't even sure anymore. My thoughts were all over the place. I wanted justice. But what did that even look like? Would it really make a difference in the end? Would it heal me? Or would it just make everything worse? I stood up, pacing the floor, fighting the turmoil in my chest. Every inch of me wanted to pick up the phone and call her. To ask her how she could do this to me. To ask her how she could tear apart something so fragile, so real, for her own selfish gain. But then I'd stop myself, the shame creeping in. What would I say? What would I do? Was I really ready to face the woman who had stolen my husband's heart? No, I wasn't ready. And maybe, deep down, I knew that confronting her wouldn't change anything. It wouldn't fix what Jake had done. It wouldn't fix the mess he'd created. And it wouldn't make the pain go away. I wanted to forgive him. God, I wanted to forgive him. I wanted to believe he was still the man I had married. The man who had promised to love me forever. But how could I? How could I look at him and trust him again? I could feel the tears rising again, threatening to spill over. But I fought them back, just like I had every day since that moment. I couldn't let him see me break. I couldn't let him see how much I was hurting. So I pretended. I smiled when I saw him, laughed when he made jokes. But every time I looked at him, I saw the man who had betrayed me. I saw the man who had lied to me for months. The man who had turned our love into a game. And it broke me a little more every day. I didn't know what I wanted anymore. I didn't know if I could ever look at him the same way again. But I also didn't know how to live without him. And that terrified me. I needed to find some control again. I needed to feel like I was the one making the decisions, the one who had the power. But it was so hard to do that when every choice felt like the wrong one. Revenge, forgiveness, walking away. What was the right choice? I thought about the future. I thought about what it would be like to wake up every day and live without him. The idea of it made me sick. But the idea of living with him, knowing what he had done, felt even worse. I knew I needed to make a choice. I needed to make it soon. But right now, all I could do was spiral, lost in my own thoughts, caught between the desire for justice and the fear of being alone. I just wanted to feel like I had some control again. I couldn't stop myself. After days of tormenting myself with questions, I had to know who she was. I had to know what she had that I didn't. It wasn't enough just to hear her name in the messages, or to know that she was there, lurking in the shadows of Jake's life. I needed to see her. I needed to know what kind of woman could take my husband's heart and shatter everything we'd built together. That's when I found it, the message that changed everything. I had been scrolling through Jake's phone again. I wasn't proud of it, but I couldn't help myself. And then, there it was, her name, etched in bold letters across the screen. Laura. The name felt like a slap in the face. But it wasn't just the name that hit me. It was her face, the picture, attached to the message, her smiling like she had all the answers, and I couldn't breathe. I stared at the screen, feeling my chest tighten, my stomach churn. She looked so normal. She didn't look like someone who had destroyed my life. She looked like someone who belonged there, beside Jake, laughing and loving and doing all the things I thought we'd be doing together. I hated how easily she fit into the space I had once held. But the worst part, I wasn't even sure who I hated more, her or myself. The jealousy bubbled up inside me like poison. I felt small, insignificant, like nothing I had done for Jake was ever going to be enough. What had I missed? What had I done wrong? Why wasn't I the one who made him feel alive again? Why wasn't I the one who made him smile that way? The thought of them together, the two of them, laughing, touching, loving, it made me feel sick. I stood there in the kitchen, staring at the phone in my hands. The world felt like it was spinning round me, How could he do this? How could he betray me like this? With her, I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the phone across the room and shatter it into pieces. But I didn't. I couldn't. Instead, I sank down into the chair, clutching the phone so tightly my fingers ached. I had to do something. I had to confront her. I felt sick just thinking about it. But I needed to know. I needed answers. Was she the one who made him feel alive again? Was she the reason he couldn't see me anymore? I needed to understand why my husband, the man who once promised me forever, was so easily taken by someone else. I didn't know if I could actually go through with it. I didn't know if I could face her, face the woman who had taken my place. In his heart, the shame swirled around me like smoke. I wasn't the kind of person who normally acted like this. I wasn't the kind of person who spiraled into jealousy, who needed to know every detail. But I felt like I was losing my grip on reality, like I couldn't trust anything anymore, not Jake, not myself, not even the life we had built together. And this woman, Laura, was the final piece of the puzzle. She had the answers. She was the key to all the questions I couldn't stop asking myself. But what if she didn't care? What if she didn't even know what she was doing to me? What if she was just as blindsided as I was? I hated the thought more than I hated her. I thought about calling her. I thought about picking up the phone and dialing her number, just to hear her voice, just to ask her how it felt to steal something so precious. But the thought of hearing her, of talking to her, made me want to crawl out of my skin. What if she was kind? What if she was more sincere than I ever gave her credit for? Could I hate her if she was just another woman caught up in Jake's web? Or would I hate myself even more for being this weak, this obsessed, this broken? Get a grip, Sarah, I muttered to myself. Staring at the phone in my hands, I was spiraling. I didn't want to feel like this. I didn't want to care. I didn't want to let this woman, this stranger, have any more of my time or my thoughts. But I couldn't stop. Every time I closed my eyes, all I could see was her. Every time I tried to focus, I could only think about what Jake had done to me, to us. I hated feeling this way. I hated the jealousy, the insecurity, the nagging thought that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't enough for him. But I couldn't escape it. It was like a dark cloud hanging over me, and no matter how hard I tried to shake it off, it stayed. It followed me wherever I went. But even as the rage and jealousy consumed me, a small part of me knew this wasn't who I was. This wasn't me. And yet, here I was. I wanted to hate her. I wanted to tear her apart for what she had done to my life, to my heart. But deep down, I knew the truth. It wasn't her I needed to confront, it was Jake. He was the one who had betrayed me. He was the one who had broken everything we had, Laura. She was just the symptom. Jake was the disease. I stood up suddenly, the phone slipping from my hands. I didn't want to keep obsessing over her. I didn't want to keep losing myself in this twisted version of reality. I had to move on. I had to find a way to heal. I thought about calling Jake. But what would I say? Would I confront him again? Would I demand answers that he couldn't give me? Or would I just walk away from it all? But I didn't know if I was ready for that. I didn't know if I was ready to give up on the love we had, on the love I thought we had. The uncertainty hung in the air like a heavy fog, and I couldn't breathe. I couldn't keep running in circles. The weight of the last few weeks, the endless crying and rage and confusion, had been wearing me thin. I had reached a point where I knew I had to make a decision. My mind had been clouded for so long, but I was tired of the noise. I had to find some clarity. Could I forgive Jake? Could I look at him again and somehow find it in my heart to move past the betrayal? Or would this be something that forever altered who I was, how I saw myself, how I saw love? I sat in the silence of our living room, the ticking of the clock too loud in my ears. It felt like the whole world had been frozen in time, while I remained stuck in this endless loop of anger, pain, and doubt. I closed my eyes, the memories of our time together flooding my thoughts, all the good times, The moments I thought were real, the wedding, the vacations, the quiet nights, and it all felt so fragile now. How could I ever go back to that? How could I trust again? I felt my chest tighten. I had spent so long trying to be perfect for him. I had sacrificed parts of myself, thought of his needs more than mine, kept pushing aside my own insecurities. I had bent myself into shapes that made him happy, that made him love me. But now, all of that felt so pointless. The truth was, I had forgotten to love myself in the process. I had spent years trying to make him happy while losing sight of my own happiness. It was time to think about me. Double quote Sarah. Are you okay? Mia's voice broke through my spiral. I had forgotten she was coming over, but when I heard her call my name, I knew I needed to hear someone else's voice. Someone who didn't have a stake in this. Someone who could just listen. I looked up at her, trying to force a smile, but I felt it crack before it even formed. I don't know, Mia, I said, my voice hoarse. I don't know what to do. Mia sat down beside me, her presence a comfort. I had always known her to be someone who didn't judge, someone who let you be yourself. I needed that right now. Tell me what's going on, she said gently, her hand resting on my shoulder. What's in your head? I let out a shaky breath and turned to face her. I'm at a crossroads, Mia. I don't know if I can stay with him. I don't know if I can forgive him. But I also don't know if I'm ready to walk away. Everything is just broken. She nodded slowly, her eyes kind. I can't tell you what to do, Sarah. But I can tell you that you deserve better than this. You deserve to feel loved, to feel seen. And right now, it seems like you're not getting that. I swallowed hard, her words hitting me in a way I hadn't expected. But I've spent so long with him, we've built a life together. And now this, how do I just walk away from that? You don't have to walk away right now, Mia said softly. But you do have to choose. Not for him, not for anyone else, but for you. The weight of her words landed on me like a ton of bricks. For me, it felt like such a simple thing to say, but so hard to do. I have been living for him, for our life, for what we were supposed to be. But somewhere along the way, I had lost myself. I don't know if I can forgive him, Mia, I said, tears welling in my eyes. Every time I look at him, I see the lies. I see the betrayal. I can't unsee that. I can't forget what he did to me, to us. Mia squeezed my hand. You don't have to forget, Sarah. But you have to decide if it's worth staying in a relationship where you feel like this. You deserve peace. You deserve happiness. I closed my eyes, her words sinking deep into my heart. Peace, happiness. The thought of those things felt so distant. How could I ever feel that again? How could I go back to a place where I trusted, where I loved freely without this pain gnawing at me? I feel like I'm broken. Mia, I whispered, like I can never go back to who I was. She shook her head. You're not broken, Sarah. You're just lost right now. But you can find yourself again. The question is, do you want to? I didn't answer right away. I sat there, letting her words hang in the air. Do I want to? It felt like a weight had been lifted. Even though I didn't have all the answers yet, I knew I had to make a decision. But I didn't know what the right choice was. I needed time. I needed to figure out what was best for me. But I also knew that I couldn't stay here forever, stuck in this place of uncertainty. Maybe I need space, I said, finally breaking the silence. Maybe I need to figure out who I am without him, without this marriage. Mia smiled at me, her eyes full of understanding. That sounds like a good place to start. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. The world still felt like it was spinning out of control. But there was something in me that knew this was the first step. I had to take control of my life again. I had to find a way to move forward, even if I didn't have all the answers. Later that evening, I sat in the silence of the empty house, the weight of the decision settling over me. I had no idea what the future held. I didn't know if I could ever trust Jake again. I didn't know if we could rebuild what we had, or if I even wanted to. But for the first time in weeks, I felt a small spark of hope. I could choose my future. I wasn't defined by the affair. I wasn't defined by the lies. I wasn't defined by Jake. And that was the first thing that made me feel a little lighter. Things started to fall apart for Jake. And as much as I wanted to feel bad for him, as much as I wanted to pretend like I didn't find any kind of satisfaction in watching his world crumble, the truth was, I couldn't stop myself. At first, I didn't notice. He still came home every night, still acted like everything was fine, still pretended nothing had changed. But I saw it. I saw the small cracks forming. The way his smile didn't quite reach his eyes anymore. How his voice sounded hollow when he said my name. There was no real joy behind the words. And then it hit me. The guilt was catching up with him. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I knew what was happening, but I never thought I'd see it play out in front of me. The woman he had cheated with, Laura, was starting to pull away. I could feel the tension between them. The little moments of silence that used to be filled with laughter and affection. He would stay up later, working on projects or catching up on emails instead of talking to me. And the phone calls would become fewer and fewer. The texts didn't stop, but they were colder. And Jake, he looked lost. One evening, as I sat on the couch with a book, I watched him from the corner of my eye. He was pacing round the room, his phone clutched tightly in his hand. I didn't ask, but I knew something was off. It wasn't just the guilt I saw in his eyes, it was fear. Sir? Jake's voice broke through my thoughts. I looked up at him, feeling a strange sense of detachment. Yeah, I answered, not bothering to hide the coolness in my tone. He flinched slightly, but I didn't care. I need to talk to you about something, he said, his voice strained, like he wasn't sure if he could say the words. I wasn't sure if I was ready to hear them. I set my book down and looked at him. What's going on, Jake? He sighed, his shoulders slumping. I think Laura is done with me. My chest tightened at the name. I swallowed hard, trying to keep my emotions in check. Oh, and what does that mean for you? I said it. But the question felt empty, like I already knew the answer. He didn't look at me. She said she needed space. She's been distant for the past week. And I think it's over. Part of me wanted to smile, wanted to laugh and say, well, I hope it feels good. But I didn't. I just sat there, watching him, letting the silence speak louder than anything I could say. I didn't want to gloat. I didn't want to be petty. But seeing him like this, seeing him struggle with the same fear and loss that he had put me through, felt like some kind of cosmic justice. It was like karma was finally catching up with him. So, what are you going to do now? I asked, my voice quiet but steady. Jake ran a hand through his hair. He looked tired, physically drained. I don't know. I've messed everything up. Sarah, everything. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. But then I remembered everything I had been through. The nights I spent crying. The countless times I doubted myself, wondering if I was enough. No, Jake. You messed everything up. You chose this, I said, the words coming out sharper than I intended. And now you're facing the consequences, just like I had to. His face twisted with frustration. I didn't mean for this to happen, okay? I didn't want to lose you. I was just confused. I laughed bitterly. Confused? You think that's what this is? You think you're confused? My voice cracked. But I quickly steadied myself. You're not confused, Jake. You're selfish. And now you're reaping what you sowed. He didn't say anything else. He couldn't. The words were useless now. All the apologies, all the excuses didn't matter anymore. I didn't feel anger. Not like I thought I would. No, what I felt was something else. It was the quiet satisfaction of watching him face the wreckage of his own creation. His life was falling apart, just like mine had, and I couldn't look away. But even with that satisfaction, I felt something else, to something deeper. It was the realization that I didn't need him anymore. I didn't need his apologies. I didn't need him to validate me. I had spent so long thinking about him, about how to fix us, about how to get back to what we had. But the truth was, I wasn't that person anymore. I wasn't the woman who would take the blame for his mistakes. I wasn't the woman who needed his approval to feel worthy. And that realization that I was finally taking control was the most powerful feeling I had ever experienced. 2 weeks later, I sat in my car, staring at the front door of the house I had once shared with Jake. It felt like a lifetime ago. My hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, but I didn't feel scared anymore. I didn't feel trapped. I had finally decided I was going to leave. The decision didn't come easily. It took time. It took a lot of soul searching, but I couldn't keep living this way. Drowning in the wreckage of a marriage that no longer existed, I wasn't ready to forgive Jake, and maybe I never would be, but I didn't need to. I wasn't going to let him or anyone else dictate my future anymore. I opened the car door and stepped out, my heart racing, but for the first time in months, I felt like I was walking towards something better. I walked up to the front door, knocked softly, and waited. When Jake opened it, his eyes immediately searched mine, as if looking for some sign of hope, some glimmer of the woman he once knew. "I'm leaving, Jake," I said, my voice steady, my chest swelling with a mix of sadness and relief. I can't do this anymore. He didn't try to stop me. He didn't beg. He just stood there, watching me. And in that moment, I realized I was free. I didn't need him anymore. I had my own life to live now, and I was ready to live it. I stood there in front of the door, my hand trembling as I reached for the handle. It felt surreal. I had thought about this moment 1,000 times in my head, but now that it was here, it seemed impossible to fully grasp. Walking away from Jake, from everything we had built, seemed like the hardest thing I'd ever do. But it was also the only thing I could do. I wasn't just walking away from him. I was walking away from the version of me that I thought I had to be, the version that clung to a broken marriage, to a love that wasn't real anymore. I was done pretending, done hiding behind the smile I perfected for him, for everyone else. I took a deep breath, the weight of the decision sinking in. I could hear the silence of the house around me, like it was waiting, too. And then I heard footsteps behind me. "Jake, Sarah, wait," he called softly. His voice held something like desperation, like he wasn't ready for this to end. But I could hear the cracks in it, the cracks that came from the guilt, the fear. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. If I did, I might fall apart. I didn't know if I could stand to look at him one last time. "Jake," I said, my voice firm, "it's over. I can't do this anymore." He took another step forward, but I didn't need to hear the pleading in his voice to know what was coming. "Please, Sarah, we can work this out. We can." "No, Jake," I interrupted, turning to face him now. "There's nothing to work out. You've broken me. You broke us. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep pretending everything's fine when it's not." I saw the pain flash in his eyes, but I didn't feel anything. Not anymore. I know I screwed up. I know I hurt you. But please, don't walk away. We can fix this. I can fix this. "I don't need you to fix it, Jake. I need to fix me," I said, my voice breaking with the weight of the truth I had finally found. "I've been trying to be perfect for you for so long that I lost myself. I was so focused on what I thought we had that I forgot about me. But now, I'm done." I could feel the tears coming, but I swallowed them down. This wasn't about Jake. This wasn't about the betrayal anymore. This was about me taking back control of my life. This was about learning to love myself again. Jake's face crumpled in defeat, his eyes pleading, "I'm sorry, Sarah. I never wanted to hurt you. Please don't go." I stood tall, my shoulders square. "You already hurt me, Jake. You hurt me in ways I don't even know how to explain. But this is me choosing to move on. I'm not going to stay here and let you keep breaking me. I deserve more than this." For a long moment, we stood there facing each other, the silence was suffocating. But then, something in me shifted. A calm settled over me, a peace I hadn't felt in weeks, months, maybe longer. I realized then that this wasn't just about leaving Jake. It was about finding myself again, about reclaiming the life that was mine to begin with. "I think it's time for me to go," I whispered. The words felt like a weight lifting off my shoulders. I had no more doubts. I wasn't afraid. Jake didn't say anything else. He just stood there, his shoulders slumped, as I walked past him and out the door. The finality of it all hit me as I stepped out into the cool air. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I had spent so many years lost in the idea of us, in the memory of the love I thought we had. But now, walking away, I realized something. This wasn't just about Jake, or the betrayal, or the hurt. It was about me, my future. I had been broken, but I wasn't going to let that define me. I couldn't keep living in the past, in the shadow of someone else's mistakes. I wasn't just letting go of Jake. I was letting go of everything that had been holding me down, the guilt, the shame, the fear of being alone. And in that moment, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't known in so long. It was like I could breathe again. Like I had finally taken control of my own story. The next few weeks weren't easy. I'd be lying if I said they were. But each day, I found myself a little stronger. I started doing things for me. I focused on work, on rebuilding my life, on finding my way back to who I was before any of this started. Slowly, I began to remember what it felt like to just be me, to live for myself, to be okay in my own skin. One night, as I sat on my couch, sipping tea and reading a book, I realized something. I didn't need Jake to be happy. I didn't need anyone to define my worth. For the first time in months, I was at peace with myself. I wasn't defined by the affair. I wasn't defined by the betrayal. I was Sarah. And that was enough. In the end, I had learned something important. I had learned that I didn't have to wait for someone else's love to feel whole. I had learned that sometimes you have to walk away from the things that break you in order to find the strength to rebuild. And that was the greatest lesson of all. It's been a few months now. A few months since I walked away from everything I thought I knew. The days feel different, now lighter, somehow. It's as if I can breathe again. And the weight that once crushed me has been lifted. I don't wake up every morning with a knot in my stomach anymore. The anger, the shame, the sadness, it's all still there, but it's not controlling me anymore. I've spent this time rediscovering who I am, not as a wife, not as someone's partner, just me, the woman I lost somewhere along the way. And honestly, I never realized how much I'd forgotten about myself until I started remembering again. I've been doing things for myself, doing what I want to do, not what I think I should do. I've taken trips, even if they're just to a nearby park to sit by the water with a book. I've called up friends I hadn't seen in too long, laughed more than I have in years. I don't feel guilty about it either. I've stopped apologizing for taking care of myself. I've learned so much in these months. I've learned that the love I lost wasn't as perfect as I once believed. I was so focused on holding onto something that wasn't real, trying to fix a relationship that was already broken. And when I let it go, when I truly let go, I found something so much more valuable. Self-respect, independence, peace. I didn't think I'd ever feel at peace again, but now I do. I've stopped trying to define myself by someone else's choices. I'm not broken. I'm not damaged. I'm just me, and I'm enough. Of course, it hasn't been all smooth sailing. There are days when the loneliness creeps in, when the silence in my apartment feels too heavy. But those moments pass, and I'm learning to be okay with them. I'm learning that I don't need anyone else to fill this space. I can fill it myself. But sometimes I wonder what's next. The thought of love, of sharing my life with someone again, doesn't terrify me the way it used to. In fact, I think I'm ready for it. Not now, but someday. I don't need someone to complete me, but I could. see myself walking beside someone who's on the same journey, who values me as I am broken pieces and all. I smile to myself. Maybe that's what the future holds for me, a new kind of love, a healthier kind, one where I'm not losing myself in someone else's expectations. For now, though, I'm content. The weight of the past isn't gone, but it's lighter, and with each passing day, I'm becoming more of who I was always meant to be. A few days ago, I sat in a cafe, sipping my coffee, watching people come and go, and I realized something. For the first time in years, I felt alive again. Not just going through the motions, I was really living. And that, right there, was the moment I knew I'm ready for whatever comes next. I'm not afraid anymore. I've faced the worst, and I survived. I've learned how to stand on my own, how to find peace in the chaos, and maybe, just maybe, that's all I needed to learn all along. That I'm enough, that I can be happy. With or without anyone, the future doesn't seem so scary. Now, it's just a blank page, waiting to be filled with whatever I choose. And this time, I'm writing it for me.